Mr. Ray Winstone.
But each time I do, just the thought of you makes me stop before I begin. 'Cause I've got you under my skin.
You like that one, don't you? That's a song, and
That's my karaoke song. And they just killed it.
No.
No, you're blinding, boys. I know it.
It is lovely to have you here. I was thinking, I haven't interviewed you before, and I'm surprised.
No, I've tried to avoid you like the plague.
You haven't,
I've actually spoke to your brother. I've done a few interviews. He's very good, your brother.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And you've avoided me for years.
Well, I tried to, but, you know, I ain't been doing too much lately, so I've got to keep myself a bit busy, you know?
We forced you back on.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one that's excited you here, because the fellas are very excited you here, so...
Yeah, the boys look good.
Yeah.
I like the T-shirts.
Because I think you are a bit of a gay icon, has to be.
Yeah, that's all right. It's nice.
I know, because they like a big fella,
Yeah,
a hairy fella,
yeah,
a big gay bear.
Yeah, I'll take that. I don't mind that.
That's a good thing to be, I think, isn't it? Because
I bet I cross my legs. Hold on.
there's clubs devoted to it, and the internet sites for the hairy big fellas.
Oh, that's all right.
Just so you know, I don't know if you're not.
I'm not very hairy, though.
Aren't you?
No.
Just around here?
No, even my legs, look. I ain't got too many hairs on my legs
Look
at
at
all.
that.
And I don't wax them and nothing like that, but it's just...
You've never been hairy?
No, not really, no.
Chest, back,
No.
waist,
Don't happen with me.
privates?
No, well, I don't want to go that far.
Mine down now, I have to trim it these days.
Yeah, I know, but you did anyway, didn't you?
But
It's a Luton, isn't it?
It's like old Holborn bulging out of my pants down there.
Can I say something?
Oh, sorry, mate.
Right?
Well, I'm still recovering from Kim and Aggie, you know?
Yeah, they were blinding.
They are great, aren't they?
Yeah.
All right, I've liked you in a lot of films.
Thank you.
I think like a lot of people, and I bet you get this a lot. I loved you in Sexy Beast.
Yeah, it was a good film, John. I mean, it took... Really, they didn't really know what they had over here, you know? When we was making the film, they were a little bit confused. I don't think they thought they had a good film. It took the Americans to tell us what a good film it was, you know?
Did you know when you read the part, was it as it appeared finally?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's probably one of the only scripts I've ever read that you didn't have to change a word. I mean, the two boys that wrote it, Louis and David, they wrote Gangster #1, the original Gangster #1, then it all got changed. There was a lot of politics went on. And they wrote this script. It's kind of modern-day Shakespeare, really.
Yeah.
You know, and it was fabulous stuff. And they're actually writing something for us now about William Blake. We're having a film written, and the two boys are writing the same thing. I think they're brilliant writers.
And you're going to play William Blake?
Yeah.
That's quite something, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you a fan of his stuff?
Yeah, I think so. From being a young kid, you know, growing up and wondering where Jerusalem came from and Tiger. But I don't want to make this a kind of a film that's all prissy and lovely and poetry and all that. It's kind of like a horror story.
Well, he was a wild boy, wasn't he?
Well, it weren't just that. I mean, he had visions. He was a man who had visions. You know, if you've got a dragon tearing it, I don't think that's a nice, prissy film. I think that's something that's going to be kind of like a horror movie.
But you know, I don't know whether this is the class thing, but I think most people wouldn't expect you to be interested or knowledgeable about that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that just shows you how knowledgeable they are, really, doesn't it?
But do you encounter much prejudice, you think, in that way because of your...
I don't take a lot of notice of it, Jonathan. I'm an Englishman, and that's what I do, you know. What is English? I don't know. What is the English language? It's not speaking very much like that. That's more or less German, you know. You know, if you come to Liverpool, Coventry, and you have an accent, and then, you know, you should be proud of that.
When you did Henry VIII on TV, quite a few people criticised you for that. For
Not that many, but at the same time, it wasn't that many. It got the biggest ratings for that type of show that there's ever been.
Yeah.
If you do it in the language of the time, you speak in Latin.
Because the court language was it
Yeah,
French?
well, I could have done it in a bit. Talking like Watmore, talking like that, would have been a bit sort of... It would have taken away from being the King of England. I just wanted to find a level of being a man.
Yeah.
Before anything else, to just drop the voice, make it deeper, you know.
But it's fascinating for us to hear this because, you know, we see the finished product. That's what we see. When we see it on screen, and we don't realise that as an actor or with the directors or whatever, you've probably gone through 15 or 20 possible routes before you deliver what you deliver.
Before you make your decision, that's quite true, you know. Probably not 15 or 20, probably maybe 2. But you do, it's like being offered the job, you know. The first time, maybe 6 months before you do the job, they say, you know, we've got a great idea, you're going to play the King of England. You go, that's a great idea. And then 2 days before you're going to do it, you go, I can't do it. You know, how am I going to do this?
Do you still get nervous then before you start a new job?
Yeah, I think so, but you show nerves in funny ways, you know. I start yawning and want to go to sleep. And I was the same when I was boxing. Some people are sick, you know, some people jump around and start singing, and I just get very lethargic and very tired.
And it's strange.
Until the bell rings and you're off, you know.
And are there films you do when you get part way through and think, okay, I'm still not certain I'm doing this the right way? Do you ever have that doubt?
There is. I think you go into every film thinking, you know, it's going to be the best film you've ever made. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it, you know.
Let's talk about then a film which I know you are proud of, and we all enjoyed it, Sexy Beast, once again, because I thought it was kind of brave of you for a couple of reasons. One is, it's a very honest performance, it's a very open performance, and like physically it's very open. And the first time we see the character you play, he's standing there in a pair of perhaps ill-advised Speedo trunks.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, enjoying the full splendour of his early retirement.
Oh, that's a proper geezer, isn't it?
It really is. That's what amazed me. When I first started, I thought, you know, that is like so many blokes you see on holiday. You don't see them in film, but that's a real bloke of a certain age enjoying his beer and his cigarettes and too much sun.
Yeah. Thank God I'm laying down, eh?
Did you? Now, were you that size when you started? Because you're not huge, but did
well,
you
no, but I'm quite weighty anyway, you know.
Yeah.
I'm 47 years of age, which don't make no odds, but I used to train a lot when I was younger, and I think when you stop training, you put on a lot of weight, you know. But the greatest thing about that job was they said to me, Ray, we want you to go to Spain, which is a most beautiful part of Spain, Aguirre Amara, it's near Almira. Right. And we want you just to eat for 2 weeks, drink as much beer and booze as you like, and lay in the sun. And you're going to pay me for that? You know,
it's going to be the greatest job offer you've ever had.
Mate, well, you know, would you turn it down?
No way.
It was fantastic.
Let's have a look. This is Ray in action in Sexy Beast. But you know what I like about it as well? I was talking about, you know, the way you look, but the performance itself is I think, probably, maybe I'm wrong, closer to you as a person than most of the parts you get to play.
In a way, yeah, I guess so, yeah. It's a little bit softer, I guess, you know. In a way, I'm not playing a gangster. The great thing about this film is it could be called a gangster movie, and it's not. It's actually a love story, I think. I always thought it was when I first read it, you know. And in fact, when they said Ben Kingsley was playing Don, I went, you got to be joking.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of people in the frame, and I thought, I'm going to be beaten up by Gandhi. You know, and of all the people you would envisage playing, and as an actor, I shouldn't even think that way, because, you know, actors should play different parts and play loads of different parts. But he was fantastic. And, you know, my performance in that, and I'm very pleased with my performance in that, but was due to Ben and Amanda Redman, you know, and Ian McShane, and Kevin Kendall, and Julianne White. You know, we were a little group, a little team. And the great thing about the film was we were waiting for Don to turn up. And that's what happened while we was making the film, because Ben was in America making another movie, and they weren't letting him go. Yeah. So we had to film around that, and it kind of, by accident, gives an atmosphere of a movie, and we had some talented people working on it.
There's not a bad performance in the film.
Well, no, and that's down to everyone bouncing off with everyone. It was like a little, you know, this thing about being a family and all that. You know, you hear all the time, yeah. But it's quite correct, you know.
You mentioned family, and of course, I know that your family is very important to you. You're a real genuine family man, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I'd like to think so. Yeah.
How long have you been married for now?
25 years.
Wow, that's quite something, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you have 3 children?
3 girls I've got, yeah.
Now, how old are they?
They're 23, 19, and 3.5.
Right, okay, so bit of a gap.
Yeah.
The last 2.
Yeah.
Now, was this a conscious decision to say we want to get back into the parenting game?
Where we lived before, you know, before I started grafting and all that, where we lived in Enfield in the flats, and our 2 girls were growing up, and you know, we had a touch. You know, we started earning a few quid. Yeah. And we moved out to Essex and bought a nice house with a nice garden and everything, which we didn't have before. And you think, you know, why didn't we have this when the kids were little? And we went, well, let's have another baby, you know. You know, and lucky enough, I was in all working order. Yeah. Brilliant, thank God.
Well, was Viagra involved at all?
No, it wasn't, but I was thinking about it, you know. And so we were lucky. We had, you know, we had our little Ellie Ray. She's beautiful. You know, my other two girls are beautiful anyway. But the other downside of it is when we lived in the flats, the girls could walk down the flats and they had their mates right next door.
Yeah.
And you live in the country all of a sudden,
It's different.
and your baby hasn't got a friend anymore. So there's pluses and minuses with everything.
Swings and roundabouts. Isn't
Yeah.
it?